I was trying to tell you guys. When you measure from the tip of the back.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Anyways,
I thought you said, how do you take a measure of a man?
No, he said Mick. He didn't say Dick.
Shit, I'm sorry. Well, wait. In that case, the tip, it's from the...
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is how the show is going to go today.
You should have known that. You should have known that the second you invited Mick.
Got ugly pretty quick there, didn't it?
Well, so we're live here, not on a Saturday, but a Sunday, a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We're joined by, the lovely Mick Strawn there talking about his tip.
Here's a tip.
Mick Strawn is, you're a little bit of everything, right? Production designer, producer.
Yeah,
and
production
then,
designer, producer, author,
director.
Director. I've also, I guess I'm best known for being a production. The book. The production designer of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, and a lot of 5 in the TV series.
Yeah,
and
he's deep in the Freddy.
Yeah.
And then a show called Hercules, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
The Legendary Journeys?
The Legendary Journeys, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Came up with that whole concept of it was really great when we were first talking about that show. Rob Tappert and what's that other guy, that director guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, no one's heard of him.
The one that works with Rob Tappert. The one that did Evil Dead. That's Raimi. That's the guy. Raimi. Sam Raimi, and
he's no big
we're
deal.
talking about the concept of the film, and it's like, well, we're looking for a place that kind of looks like Greece, and we're going to kind of put a new twist on that, and then Rob Tappert came back from a fishing trip outside of New Zealand. He says, "Dude, guys, we've got to film Hercules in New Zealand because there's a great fishing hole right there."
Yeah,
and we did. So that's a pretty good example of having money and power.
That and Foster's.
And
I mean, really, they were ahead of the game though, right? Because Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings over in New Zealand, and now every fantasy show films over there.
Yeah,
I mean,
Peter, I worked with Peter Jackson over there. He was just telling me a story. I remember him telling me a story about this film that they had just finished called Brain Dead, and they were talking about that they had built this house, this set for a house. They didn't have any money, and they're doing the scene with the lawnmower in the middle of the living room, right? where he comes across and he's killing all the people with the lawnmower, right? And that all of a sudden people started to just drop through the floor. Doom, doom, doom. And they stopped filming, and they realized that they had used so much blood the week before that they had used particle board on 2 foot centers, right? Because they didn't have any money, and it soaked through it completely. All he did was paint the floors, completely soaked through, and they had to on the weekend they had to come in and take everything out and redo the floor with plywood, exterior grade plywood, so that they could finish the film because people kept dropping through. Kids,
put enough blood on your particle board, it turns into oatmeal.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's right, and it did.
That's like oatmeal floors.
So it's going to be hilarious with Mick. He's got a lot of great stories like that. Also joining us is special effects artist, and you dabble in other stuff too, right? Producer and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm an idiot savant. I do everything.
Yes. Nick Benson, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
And then of course we have Omar. How you doing, Omar?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah. So I guess we want to start with you guys here. Kind of explain to our audience what you do and what you've worked on, and we'll start with you, Nick.
Well, in the later part of the 80s, I was in a couple of bands and performing as a musician, and wound up in a haphazardly way of being roommates with my guitarist. And our other roommates were Kevin Brennan and Steve Johnson, who you know from Ghostbusters, and you know, a couple other, Big Trouble in Little China, Fright Night, you know, just a laundry list of killer films. And having been roommates with him, you know, in the band, I was trying to do some really theatrical things with the band. So I, you know, bounce stuff off of Steve or Kevin. And, you know, Steve liked to pass out the LSD too. So we'd have some pretty crazy parties and stuff at the house. And it just like, it wound up in a haphazard way of like, I asked him about doing some things on stage and how I thought I should do them. And he was like, one night he was just like, you know what, why don't you just come make Rubber Monsters? I'm starting a new shop. That was when he started SPFX. And, you know, I decided that was far cooler than making music. So
there you go. That's what happens.
Yeah. See what happens.
See, back in the 80s, we just got dragged into this shit.
That's right. Hey, you're kind of good at that. Come here. I got you something to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, put you to work. You're walking by and you have a pulse and everything. Come on.
Yeah.
And what about you, Mick? I mean, we talked a little bit about Hercules, and so what else have you dabbled in?
Well, I've dabbled in effects. Actually, you know, I had been working on the effects on Nightmare on Elm Street 3 I've been working on the mechanical effects. And mechanical effects are always broken into three different categories. There's optical effects. Yeah. And if you're a dickhead, you go immediately into optical effects. And then there's makeup effects. And if you can get along with other people, you go to makeup effects. And then there's mechanical effects. And if you've ever hit somebody over the head with a wrench and they survived, and you didn't go to jail, then they put you in mechanical effects. And mechanical effects is like fire, things that explode, anything. Technically anything that moves is a special effect if it is in the car.
Stopping trucks when they hit nothing, things like that.
Right. That's affecting how things move is the definition of special effects. And like for instance, even in cartoons have special effects departments, you know, and that's you know how I describe special effects in cartoons is if you have an anime character and they're making that big mouth like this, and they get their hands like this, and all of a sudden they're swooshing, right? That swooshing is special effects. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we do is movement, and I was doing the rigging for Nightmare on Elm Street 3's mechanical effects, like the creature that goes underneath the floor, you know, the Freddy dick, the Freddy penis. Do you remember this? The Freddy penis, right? Yeah. That was all those were all mechanical effects. You know, even smoke on the set is mechanical effects. So I had rigged all that, and then I was going down to the office to drop off Peter Chesney's last bill because I was running his shop, and I just happened, and I just was in an elevator, right? Just waiting for the elevator. Had to go up to the 8th floor to drop the bills off, right? And so I'm waiting for the elevator, and Jerry Olson, who just got hired on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, just happens to step up, and I knew Jerry, and I went, "Hey, Jerry, how's it going?" And we start talking, and the elevator doors open, and I said, "You know what? You need an art director for Nightmare on Elm Street 3." And he goes, "You're right. I do need an art director." And I said, "And I just finished all the mechanical effects. And you know that I know art department too. And so let's get together and do the little cha-cha." And by the time the elevator doors opened, I had the job. And I was the art director. So I got to do a lot of both on that.
It's kind of how that stuff worked in those days.
It really is how, when I said that, if you just happen to be the person in the right place, because communication wasn't exactly what it is now.
No.
It's like how we had stupid books like 411.
Yeah, LA 411.
LA,
making a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, a lot of phone calls, man. I mean, that was your life, is sitting down and starting to phone. We actually didn't talk to people. We talked to places.
So, what was it easier or harder back in your day to hop into a project?
It was probably easier to do it and harder to stay in, because immediately you would learn that the hours were really long. The responsibility was absolutely horrendous, and if you could take the crucible of it, you know what I'm saying? If you could take the crucible of it, it was quite a ride.
Yeah. Well, and two, like, to add to that, like, towards the end of one show, you're like, you're coming towards the end of it, so you're already making phone calls to all these other places to see who else has work, because once you're done on that film, there may not be another thing with that particular studio. So
there's a scene in a film called Moon Over Paraguay.
Moon Over Parador,
and it's
Parador,
right? And
yeah,
and what was it? Who was the star? It's Hoffman, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman.
At the very, and at the very end, he's walking down the stairs, and he so perfectly sums up what it was at that time to be in the film business. Is he's going down the outside stairs of this building in Parador, right? Mm-hmm. And as he's going down, he's talking with a friend of his about so what are you going to do after this? And he goes, "Oh God," he says, "You know how it goes, man. I'm going to sleep for 2 months. I'm not going to get up. I'm going to be so drunk by noon tomorrow. I won't even know what planet I'm on." And on the way down, somebody passes another one of the actors passes them and says, "Oh, guys, I got to get going. I've got a call. I've got to get on a plane because I got a call in New York." And both of them go, "In New York, you say?"
Exactly.
Yeah, and you guys hopped in.
Do they need people?
I was gonna say, you guys hopped into the industry right like on the cusp of the studios becoming more corporate, right? Because they started becoming more like big, corporate.
Not
like
necessarily.
I don't know about that. I mean, that was more. That consolidation happened an awful lot more in the late 90s, and and continued to today. But
where bigger conglomerates absorbed smaller ones, like Canon's not around anymore, but people like Canon or New Line or whatever, like the bigger studios would absorb those. But Mick's got some good stories about Canon.
Canon was fun. I just recently was in North Carolina, and we were with Jack Shoulder. He was the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and Jack and I are friends because I did The Hidden with him, and we're sitting there, and they brought on a production designer who happened to live near the restaurant we're at. The production designer from Runaway Train. His name's Steve Marsh, and I worked with him back in the day. And I'm joining the group. I just driven in from Nashville. I'm joining the group at dinner, right? And they're in this restaurant, and somebody goes, "Hey," and Steve Marsh goes, "Hey, how's it going?" And he goes, "We were just talking about working at Canon Films." And I said, "Canon Films. the company of the $10,000 bag, brown bag. And he starts cracking up and he goes, yeah, exactly. They were so hated in town that nobody would give them an account, right? Canon Films. And so I was doing Breaking 2, and literally what they would do is they would just, you'd be sitting there and they would have a brown paper bag that had your name on it and your department, and it would have $10,000 in it, and all the bags had the same amount of money in it.
Oh man.
And here's your department. Here's $10,000. You come back when you're done with it and we'll give you another one. And I was like, so like, what? And I learned that they did the same thing to Steve Marsh. They hired him for Runaway Train, and they said, here's your $10,000 bag.
Oh my God. If anybody hasn't seen the documentary on on Canon, they should definitely go see that. It is well worth it.
Did they mention the $10,000 bags? I'll bet they didn't. I'll bet it never came. You know, the funny thing is what I like is that talking with Nick's a friend of mine, Nick and me, you're going to get the point of view of the actual operating of things. You know, I mean, there are stories about like all the films that we have made, but so many of those stories that get out don't go below the line.
Right.
You know, maybe there's a guy involved in the story that was an extra, right? But that's as far as you go. You don't go down to the crew level where the really interesting shit happens, you know? Because you know what? The thing is, an actor breaks a nail and everybody has to take a day off. You know, an effects guy burns his face off, and you know you got to get him to
be back on set at 5.
He's got to get back on set. well, that means that you're going to start working nights, dude.
Yeah. We got some salve for you. You'll be all right.
Yeah, that's right.
So do you guys remember when you first met?
I do. I think I figured it out because of Mick. I had some sort of cloudy memories because everything ran together in those days. You were on one film and then on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And Mick and I, just through conversation, sort of figured it out. Like I was on Blob, and I think he had built, if I remember correctly, he was in one of the sub stages off, sort of near where I was working in Blob.
Right. No. You know what it was? You were right next to the junkyard.
Yeah,
you were down in the valley.
Getting ready to say I was out at Dream Quest on Blob.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we had the same Dream Quest. We were doing everybody used Dream Quest at that time.
Yeah, I figured that's where we wound up meeting, was at Dream Quest.
Right. Probably because I had to keep on going out there and fighting with what's his name? I can't remember.
Hoyt.
The guy. Hoyt! Oh God, I hated that guy.
Hoyt.
God.
I mean, I'll never forget that fucking name.
God, dude, I gotta tell you, and the problem is you had to drive out to fucking dumb
BFE Simi Valley.
Yeah, Simi Valley, Simi Valley to talk to those motherfuckers. God damn it. Ugh. Yeah. If you've read my book, you know the part that I'm talking about.
So yeah, that's where we figured out that we met. Is we kind of tripped over each other out there, and he was working on the junkyard, I believe, and told me that I should start exploring getting on Nightmare.
Yeah, and then eventually his hair at that time was a long razor blade.
I don't remember what color it was at the time.
Yeah, it's hard to
every other fucking week. It was blonde, it was red, it was black and red.
And he also he had it folded up into a fan, right? You know, with a mohawk. To say that it was a mohawk is that would be like calling a Calder sculpture a windmill.
Well, I'll tell you, my mohawk was so inspiring. Steve Johnson used it to design the Trickster later on. Seriously,
Yeah,
he has admitted that to me.
That's right, because he's the mellowest person in the world, and you would look at him and go, I'm not dealing with that son of a bitch.
That mohawk got me work, man.
Yeah, I bet.
They're like, that guy's gonna fuck himself up that much.
Well,
I can imagine what he'd do to other stuff.
He was always one of those guys that you could see all the way across the stage. Because everybody's heads would be here, and then up there would be the top of his mohawk.
So the stuff that you guys do, and I know Mick, you're fully retired, I would say, right?
You know what? You're never fully retired. Actually, I swear to God, during a week, I probably talk to maybe a good 10 people at least a couple of times a day, and talk to them and try and get their film. I kind of take care of people's visual problems.
We thought we were retired.
Yeah, thought. Actually, I thought I did. I'm a lot less retired than I was before I retired.
Right.
So, looking back at your younger selves, do you think they would have imagined the stuff that you're doing or the stuff that you've done?
No.
See,
I didn't think that far ahead.
I was gonna say, it is a problem asking that of half of film people actually do it intentionally, but the other half did it just because they were oddly good at one aspect of it, at least, and the thing is to stick with it, you have to have gypsy mind, and gypsy mind's the thing that keeps you on it. It's the thing that when you're on a stage, you're making contacts for the next thing, and I cannot tell you how many times I've just gotten a job as I walked off of the stage from another one, right? It's just like, hey, you're not busy.
Yeah,
you're right. Didn't you production design that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want to do the mechanical effects on this? Yeah, okay. And away you go. There was not an adult decision made by me up until, well, I'll let you know.
It's still that way.
Yeah, it's still that way.
So we have some support here. John is saying, "What's up, guys?"
Hey,
we're gonna see him later.
Hey, John.
Hey, John. How you doing, man? That's it. That's all we're gonna get is sup, guys. Jesus.
So I know Omar has some burning questions that he wants to ask.
A little ointment.
Well, you did say burning.
Yeah, I heard some baking soda sometimes works.
Yeah, you went there first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a huge fan of just 80s horror genre. Like the other day, I was watching the blog, just put it on right after work. Nightmare 3 is probably my favorite nightmare over all of them. I love all of y'all's work. It's so good.
Thank you. I don't think that I slept from the time that I got Nightmare on Elm Street 3 until like 1999. I don't think that I ever slept.
I only
It's just consistent work all the way through.
Oh yeah. See, I had this thing that people don't have in LA. I had a family and I had all these mouths to feed. So it was sort of like that gypsy know-it-all and the drive of knowing that I had to go home and at least buy Taco Bell.
Right, the powerful need to eat, right?
Well, you see, back then Taco Bell was actually cheaper than dog food, mm-hmm. and much better from the point of view of, well, maybe the meat wasn't as good.
Shove an enchilada in your mouth and go home
and on down the road.
Keep going.
Maybe get 15-minute nap and you're back at work.
I
can't tell you how many times I did that shit.
When I was on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, we were filming right across the street from the county jail, right? And they would let the people out of the jail like between 4 and 6 in the morning. they let people out, and back then they had something called weekend jail, right? Weekend jail was basically for drug offenses if you worked in the film industry, right? And so I would be sitting there, I would be standing there waiting for my my carnitas tacos like at 6 a.m. Because there was a truck that was there that served the jail as well as it served wound up serving us, and we were always open and the jail was always open. And so I've been standing there at like sometime between 4 and 6 a.m. getting my tacos, and you would see the grip crew walking. All they did is
the
go
grip
for a
guys
walk.
had all the drugs, man.
That's right, because they didn't have all the drugs, but they did have most of the good ones.
No, they didn't top old Toby, but like you always say, Toby didn't share well.
Toby was a wreck.
So do you guys, and this is for both of you and whoever wants to answer first, do you have a favorite story from any film or TV show that you worked on that you can share here?
One that's together or different? Separate
ones? Either or, I mean.
Well, I'll tell you a personal. I'll let Mick tell the story because nobody tells it better than Mick. But I'll say probably my favorite, and thank God it's over because it was a fucking mess when it happened, was when we were doing Brooke Thesis cockroach transformation on Nightmare 4. We had these giant, what were they, 50-gallon drums, Mick?
50-gallon
50 gallons, and they were like $10,000 a drum.
Yeah, there was this material that had just come out called
Ultra Slime.
Ultra Slime. And the thing that was weird about Ultra Slime is that they had figured out a way to take away the surfactants out of water, right? So basically what you had is you had something that was just shy of, like, if you opened the container, the stuff that was stuck to the container would stick. It
would stretch ad infinitum.
It would stretch
break it.
Literally forever. And so,
like kind of like Stretch Armstrong. Remember Stretch Armstrong?
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of like that, but way
clear,
way stickier and way clearer.
Way clearer. So we had gotten it was really, really expensive, and so we had, I think that we had 2 barrels of it, 50-gallon barrels, and we had to color them. They were clear, and we got the stuff literally the day before we're going to be filming, and I wanted it orange. I wasn't going to let it be clear. It had to be orange because I had all these little traps, and I knew what it looked like inside of a what were they called?
Roach motels.
Roach motels, right? I knew what the inside of a roach motel looked like, and so it's 2:00 in the morning. There was always somebody on the stage, and I had a PA. I grabbed a PA, and I put him in the room that had the barrel. We got the barrel open and scraped down. We got the top of it scraped down. We had a big piece of plastic that we put out, and we had a drill, like one of those big industrial drills that had a paddle mixer on it that was about 4 feet long, right? A big
big old paint mixer thing.
Yeah, they use it for paint mixing and drywall mixing, right?
Yep.
And so I said, here, you're going to take that mixer, and then I'm going to put the food coloring in. And so I put all this orange food coloring in, right? And I said, and I need you just to stand here and just mix that, right? And me not thinking beyond, like, oh, I got other things I got to do. I walk down to my own office is only like 3 doors down. And I walk down and I open up and I just about get sat down in my chair. And all of a sudden I hear this screaming coming from back down where I just was. And I go, what the fuck? And so I run and I come in and I open the door. And this is what I see. I see basically a blob, just a clear blob of the. Had crawled up the drill when he turned the drill on. It was one of those drills that kind of went on forever. Once you let it off, it still go. And it because it stacks up and the drill paddles were set so that they would push up, then that material just went right up the shaft of the drill and up his arms and just enveloped his head. And he was trying to clear his mouth because all 50 fucking gallons had climbed up. And he's
just like a real life blob.
We had already made that movie, and here it was again.
And here it was again. It was like, fuck, I can't fucking believe this. And I'm desperately trying to clear his mouth and stuff.
And save the product at the same time.
And save the product.
It was 10 grand.
Here was the thing.
Shit.
All over the place. It's $10,000 that and more important than the 10,000 is I couldn't get it for like another. It took back then. You see, back then, guys, in order to get something shipped, you had to think ahead, like a month ahead, right? So basically what we did is, and as people started to come in the morning, I mean, literally we spent the rest of the night scraping it off of him, getting it down on the piece of plastic. And you know what? Here's the weird thing is we got it done and then immediately transferred, we mixed it as best we could, immediately transferred it to set. And literally it was back on the set probably by 7 a.m, right? Mm-hmm. And you're not going to believe this, but I never saw that PA again.
Surprise.
He didn't come back. He didn't pick up his check, I heard. He just left.
He was like, this.
He's like, fuck this.
So somewhere out there in the world, there's a PA that's still missing some money, huh?
Yeah, somewhere.
Missing money and a whole lot of ego, probably.
That's right, yeah.
Oh man, that is a great story. Nick, do you have a story from on your own that you worked not with Mick?
You should just tell him about the Brian's show, Society. Oh yeah.
Well, there's several from that. There's also one from Howling.
Yeah, go.
So working for Steve Johnson on Howling 4, we're doing second unit stuff where he melts in the forest and turns into the wolf. And we're doing this. We have this set that's a forest set. It's probably about 3-4 feet up in the air for puppeteers to get underneath it. So I'm underneath this thing, and they have this like what would typically look like a pond, because that's supposed to represent the pile of goo that this guy melts into. So all it is this neoprene sleeve. And I'm having to lay underneath it because my arm is his good arm that hasn't melted yet. So they slide me into this neoprene thing. And if I remember right, Howard Wexler was shooting it. Yeah. But anyway, so we're getting all set and everything, and they dress the set, they fill it full of slime, they fill the puddle full of slime and color it and do all the shit they need to do. And that took, maybe an hour or two also. So I'm laying under this thing with this fucking neoprene sleeve closed on my arm like this. And they get ready to shoot. So we're ready to shoot. I'm good. They're asking me, I'm fine. I'm okay. We're ready to go. So I am partially puppeteering stuff and then trying to move my arm and grab mud and do all that. If you watch the movie, you'll see my arm grabbing at the mud and shit. They do close-ups and stuff of it. It's kind of fun. Turned out to be a great shot, but we did, I think, I want to say in excess of maybe 20 takes of that same shot. So I'm in this thing for, I think it was a couple hours. And I wind up where my whole arm has just gone completely numb from the coldness of the puddle of shit to being pinched in there. and being in the position I was in. So they had to call an ambulance because I couldn't move anymore. They had to pull me out of it because my arm had gone completely dead. And had it been in there longer, the EMTs had said that I may have lost my arm if I wasn't careful. So yeah, I almost lost my arm making that film. It was
wow.
It was interesting.
We had a problem on Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Remember the scene at the very beginning where she's running with the baby, right? And she opens the door and all the kids are hanging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we had 10 people in harnesses, right?
Oh, I remember this one.
So we had 10 people in harnesses, and we're going around, and the thing is that if somebody tells you that they're going to start filming in 5 minutes, right? Well, actually, 10 minutes is the lie, right? You know,
yes.
10 minutes is if they say 5 minutes, the chances are it's going to be 5 minutes. But if they say 10 minutes, it could be anything. Absolutely fucking anything, right? You know, that's the biggest lie that we tell in the film business is, oh, we got this. We'll be done.
Give
in
us
10
minutes.
Give us 10 minutes. Fuck that. So the AD had come through and said something like that. Said like, oh yeah, you know, we'll get to this in 10 minutes. I was thinking, oh fuck, we're so I'm out there and I swear to God, I'm pleading with these kids. I'm saying, look, if you think you're going to pass out, you have to tell me, right? Because they're in harnesses, right? And literally, so we only
just
had
hanging around.
They're just hanging around, right? But the thing is you don't understand what it's like to be in a harness. A harness is like it's like, imagine that somebody's going to come in and like put a pulley to your dick and then yank you up in the air. It's incredibly uncomfortable. Eventually you just pass out, and eventually you pass out. And here's the thing. So they would start the shot. I would make sure that everybody was okay. And if they passed out, there was this certain kind of like that they would do in the harness, and they would almost double over. So we kept having Heather Langenkamp come through the door, and as she would come through the door, somebody would go, pass out. And we'd have to, because an extra will never say, well, you know, yeah, I'm going to pass out, because there's a chance they won't wind up in the shot, right? Heaven forbid that happens. You know, they'd rather pass out than
and
be
in the movie.
Be in the movie than not pass out. So it seemed like, I think it was 3 times that they came to the door that all of a sudden somebody just go and double over. I loved it. Good times.
Omar, do you have a question you want to ask, or?
Yeah, so I mean, between the two of you guys work with like a who's who of horror directors, like serious rock stars. We're talking like Sam Raimi's and Peter Jackson's, like you said. I think, Mick, did you work with Guillermo on Blade 2?
No.
At all?
Mick did.
Yep.
Mick did. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like what was it like working with some of those guys? Who was the one, like some of the ones that you had the best experiences with?
You know, it's funny. You don't remember the best ones. You remember the weirdest ones.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say the weirdest was Toby.
And people still think they're rock stars.
That's right. Exactly. Absolutely. The fucking weirdest was Toby Hooper. So I designed on Freddys Nightmares. Toby Hooper they decided to open up Freddys Nightmares. The first of the series was going to be a new Freddy origin story, right? And they were trying to get Toby Hooper in because they were buying the franchise, the Leatherface franchise. And so I got the honor of working with Toby Hooper. Now, I'm usually I was in the back of the warehouse. I I had intentionally put my office as far away from everybody else's as humanly possible, because I wanted to get something done. And so they coaxed me out. I think that they were using Thai food or something like that, and they used it. They set a trap for me, and then they kidnapped me and took me up and put me in an office with Toby Hooper. And I walk in, and he's sitting in this, and he's fucking vibrating. He's and I'm like, okay. I said, so Toby, what kind of look do you see for this? Well, I was thinking if we could, and Mick, we don't, because see, there's the concept that I'm trying to get to is that the thing, and we're
dead ringer, man.
And
tell you what to hand me.
That was fucking Toby Hooper, and I swear to God, it went on. It was like a 45-minute long meeting, and I didn't even know that we were really done. I just kind of like did that shuffling of papers. It's probably the first time I've ever actually done that thing where you grab papers and you shuffle them down on to make them all even, right? It's like
because you don't know what else to do.
Because I don't know what else to do. And the test was if you didn't say anything by the time that you were done with it, I just stood up and walked out, right? And that was it. And what was weird is I heard later on that I had a great meeting with Mick. I go, what's your criteria for a great meeting, you old fart? Fuck. I like to think to myself, possibly he wasn't feeling well.
Right. I mean, with the vibrating and everything.
Yeah, with the vibrating and everything.
It wasn't coffee.
It was.
I'm telling you, it wasn't coffee.
And energy drinks didn't exist back then, so
they didn't. Hey, they didn't have to. Goddammit.
So let me ask you this then, since you had that experience with Toby, the question that's been around in all of horror, it's like a myth. Was it Toby or Steven that did the Poltergeist movie?
In my opinion?
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely Steve. Just you know what? The thing is you're talking about that this was the time. This was about that time, right? It was just a little bit earlier that he did Poltergeist, right? And he just wasn't there, And the thing is I've heard so many excuses for what he was like, and they do really good as excuses. I know what it was like to work in that town, and there was reasons that people were like that, and you could buy those reasons on just about any street corner.
What about you, Nick? What do you feel?
Well, I can't add a whole lot to that. I can't say that he's far off.
Hey, it's not like
accurate.
Yeah, it's not like we don't know the nature of the problem.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
even some of the cause of some of it. Like,
really.
And me living where I was living, it was like, oh, hey, you want a little inspiration here? Put this in your mouth.
Yeah, Jesus. Hey. I mean, it's. Hey, listen. The thing is better living through pharmaceuticals was kind of the motto of everybody in the 80s.
Yeah,
I mean that's pretty much the motto of every line cook in the world.
Are we all going to just stare at each other like?
So
So outside of the horror and movie worlds, what kind of other stuff are you guys into? Are you into comics? Are you into anything like that?
I have time for it. I don't seem to have any time for any hobbies right now.
What about you, Mick?
Yeah, my hobby is rebuilding my house, and Oh, I'm always working on my house, but I always have something film related disaster going on with somebody.
Yeah, with me usually.
Yeah, but I
stuff I drag you into.
I'm tiling my bathroom right now. How about that?
Yeah.
You want to join me?
Well, I guess you could say that of me too. I mean, we're fixing our house up, and I like antique cars and motorcycles and shit like that, but I don't seem to get the time anymore to work on those things. So, yeah. And of course, music.
Yeah. So I have to ask Mick this. So before we went live, you wanted me to ask you about your David Hasselhoff story.
Oh Lord,
David Hasselhoff. We were making a joke about who's the most popular musician in the world, and
right.
we put him third right underneath Bob Marley, Elvis, and David Hasselhoff.
In Germany, it was Hasselhoff.
In Germany,
it was Hasselhoff. So I was doing a film called Ring of the Musketeers, and Ring of the Musketeers starred David Hasselhoff.
Oh my god!
And I got along with Dave really well.
He was Cheech Marin in that one as well.
He was, man. Cheech and Cheech I'd worked with on 3 other occasions. Cheech Marin to me is one of the most amazing people and just smart as a whip. And he kind of reminds me of Robert Englund in that respect. Is both of them have they have an extensive artistic background, and you can talk about with Cheech, you can talk about art with that guy forever. But so I'm working on that film, and I got along with Dave. I mean, he was just really a nice guy, if not maybe a complete blank slate. That look when he's trying to look really handsome, that look.
Yeah,
he gets that look by draining his head of any thought. So, but we're downtown. We're in downtown LA, and there's a mall downtown LA. It's all underground. It's what's up around 4th Street or something like that, right downtown. And they were working on on taking some of the buildings out and making some parking spots, but they had just leveled this one lot. And so we used that lot to park our equipment, but that lot was right next to the turnaround for the tourist buses, because they always had tourist buses coming into downtown LA. Because look, you could look at all the really big, beautiful buildings, and then you could go into the mall across the street, right? And and I'm talking about David. I'm talking to David, and we're jabbering back and forth. And we had started to walk towards the set, and a German tour bus drives up. And I'm not kidding. Dave stops. He turns to me and he puts his hand out and stops me from walking. He goes, "Okay." He says, "This is going to get a little weird." And I had no fucking idea what he meant. I was really, the funny thing about it is sometimes the most ignorant people of what's going on in the world can be people who work in the film business, because you're just working on your project, right? 24 hours a day, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And so we're just standing there for a minute, and people started to disembark from this bus. And they get about 20 people out of the bus, and somebody looks, and I saw somebody point at David, right? And I'm standing right next to him, and I kind of look at him, and I look at the person pointing, and all of a sudden at once, this whole group, everybody that's getting off the bus just starts to run right towards us. And I had no fucking idea what was going on, right? Because I'm more used to, Nick knows this, is everybody in LA ignores the cult of personality for the most part, right? Yeah. I mean, you look, you got to get through your day. I don't care if Bruce so-and-so, goes to this coffee shop all the time and he's right there. Get him the fuck out of the way, because I'm trying to get my coffee, right? But this was German people that had come to Southern California, and there was one of their biggest stars right there. And I swear, all of a sudden, I am completely surrounded by all these people, and they're just acting towards him like he's a god, and he's signing everything, and he's signing women's breasts and all around. I'm just like, just completely blown away. I had no idea, and I wasn't speaking. All of a sudden, I wasn't speaking the local language. Oh. It was hilarious. So anyway, that's my David Hasselhoff.
He was a very like if I remember correctly, that film though was that in the Baywatch era, right? He was doing Baywatch.
Yes. Yeah, right. It was kind of like towards the end of the Baywatch era when he had, I think that he had like the 5 top song hits in Germany at that point, right? You know, crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, you know, what? It's like it's another country or something.
That's a great story.
Hilarious.
It was interesting, you know. I think that I have had a life that kind of has always gone from one interesting story to the other.
I can just imagine David telling that story from his point of view. He's like, yeah, this one day I was doing a movie with the guy from Grateful Dead.
And everybody rushed me and not him.
Yeah, me and not him. It's like, wow, that's weird.
Oh man! So Nick, you said you like classic cars and motorcycles and stuff. Like, what are some of your go-to like classic cars?
I have a '61 Cadillac, and I just traded. Since my accident last year, I can't really ride my motorcycles anymore. I started selling those off, and I traded the remainder of my classic bikes. I have a couple BSAs that I traded for a '59 Cadillac. That's all I'll be putting together too.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, those old British twins, man. Triumphs, BSAs. That's so pretty. I mean, that's just a designer's dream.
They were fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about something that's coming up. You guys are coming to Orlando for Phantasm.
That's what I've heard. So I'm going to be driving in from Nashville, and I'm going to bring some books with me. And I've written a book about Nightmare on Elm Street 4 just because I thought it was such an interesting experience, and it's written with 40 to 50 other people, and Nick is one of them, telling stories out of class. And it's like I kept hearing, you know, everybody's stories about Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 3, and I thought, you know what, I can do better than that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
It was a great idea when you came up with it, because like all the cast and crew with all the behind the scenes stories are far better than the production stories.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and the thing is I got everybody's point of view in here. I got the you know, the prop people, the people in the front office, and I got Robert Shea and Robert himself, and all the cast. I mean, you know, I tried to get as many people that were still that still existed as possible, and then I broke everything up into kills, and you get to hear all kinds of, like, you know, really great and weird ass stories, maybe 3 or 4 different points of view, which is some of my favorite things. You know, it's like the dog pissing fire is hilarious, because everybody had a story about the dog pissing fire and trying to find out whose fault it was, because the first dog pissing fire literally went up in flames while they were trying to figure out who had fireproofed the dog. And I was there to hear that. You know, I was like, so. And in fact, chances are I was the one that asked the question. So who fireproofed the dog, right? And then the dog, you know, burst into flames. And the dog that you actually see in the film, if you look at it, it's singed to living fuck because they tried their best to repaint it.
Oh man!
Spray paint. Somebody spray paint the goddamn dog. I'll get the flames going. Who does that?
See, I love when it comes to movies, all kinds of movies. I love the whole like making of, and I love hearing stories and stuff from how everything works, not just from an actor or director, but like from the crew and stuff. I appreciate what you guys do. The type of like that division of film is probably my favorite. So I appreciate that you guys even came on today.
Yeah, you know the stuff is these films don't happen. These things don't happen without people like us in the background. Trying to our best to
singe dog hair.
Trying our best to save your life and make it look like we're not.
Yeah.
I know some people don't like to answer this question, but is there a film that you guys almost had but didn't get it that you wish you would?
Many.
Yeah. Is there a couple that stand out that you want to name off? That
for me, it would be like Pumpkinhead and I want to say Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
yeah. I'm gonna have to go with Evil Dead 2.
That was a good one
because Evil Dead 2 was filming right about at the same time I started on I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street 4. It was either Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or Leatherface, one or the other.
Well, Leatherface came out in 90, right?
Yeah, it was later. I think it was Evil Dead 2 because I stayed in touch with them, and later on that was the same company that did all the Hercules stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Do you guys have a favorite film in the horror genre that you guys didn't work on, whether it's during the time that you guys are working or from when you were growing up?
You know,
I think both of us can answer. There's both of us will answer with one of them. And that's Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, Young Frankenstein. I was going to say, to me, Young Frankenstein is absolutely is the best horror film ever, and it actually points out that, as far as I'm concerned, humor and horror go together hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, all the way up until today, there's a film called Dave Made a Maze that I love.
It's a great film.
It's just such a good film, and it's really funny as hell. It's the only horror film that I know that has a Muppet sequence in it, and you know, stuff like the Santa Clarita
Diet.
That
was fantastic. I wish they didn't cancel it.
I mean, you see, those are kind of like
a good show.
Because I mean, I think that horror and humor together kind of
They're great.
It's a perfect. It's a match. It's a match made in heaven. Goddamn.
It's peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, look at Ghostbusters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you guys feel?
The first Fright Night?
Oh yeah.
Aspects of the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Little China.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
well, and even stuff now where they diffuse the horror with a joke. Mm-hmm. Even the characters will diffuse whatever's happening with some clip.
Yeah, I think that's a classic. It's a classic release. You know,
right. It's a realistic coping mechanism, right?
Right.
Like
exactly.
In that situation, if you were in there, what would you do? Probably make a stupid joke to try to like get your
and the thing is nothing sets you up like for cutting up for being horrified by somebody's head getting cut off if they were just laughing like
I thought it was a decent horror comedy in the last 5 years. It is called, I think it's called Snatchers.
Snatcher? I haven't seen
I don't
it.
think I've seen that.
Yeah. It's the one with the alien or like the Mayan like worm things that possess the people. Remember, we have it.
Oh, it's the Hidden.
The Hidden.
Yeah.
So you mean Hidden? The Hidden was actually kind of funny. It had some
Hidden,
really funny.
Hidden was fucking great movie.
Night of the Creeps was also another one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and then it's an unofficial remake. Slither was also really good.
So okay.
I love Slither.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna get one in here because I always like to. So, what do you think is the best sleeper of the '80s? Horror.
Oh, best sleeper.
Yeah, sleeper. Because Nick and I have it probably the same opinion about this.
Okay, so what constitutes as a sleeper? Because
just killed
nowadays,
I like that. My question's kill.
Because nowadays everything has a cult following, right? So if I were to tell you what I think was a sleeper back then, it's no longer a sleeper now. People are aware of it. Does that
Like
make sense?
for like an example.
So
yeah,
so for me, it's Near Dark. Like when Near Dark came out, nobody talked about Near Dark because Lost Boys was out.
Mm-hmm.
But like nowadays, you mentioned Near Dark at a convention, and everybody has a tattoo of Bill Paxton. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that makes it a sleeper for its period. I mean, I was going to say The Hidden.
The Hidden's definitely
because
a sleeper because not
The
a lot
Hidden
of
it got slammed in the it got slammed when it came out.
And it's fucking it's great. It's genius. I love it.
Well, I was gonna say, wasn't like Sleepaway at Camp kind of like, would that kind of be considered a sleeper?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think.
It definitely found its following later.
Yeah.
Right.
All it is very strange. I didn't even know until my sister died, I think 9 years ago, and at her funeral, Rachel Talalay, who went on to direct Tank Girl and I think part 6 of the Freddy, and now directs a lot of the Doctor Who's. Is a great lifelong friend of mine, and she said at the time, she says, because I was getting ready to move out of LA, I was packing everything up. My sister had died, and I had to liquidate all of her stuff. She died in a plane wreck, and I was trying to pull everything, get everything worked, kind of get my mother out of the LA area, get her into an area that's because she was going to have to go in a home, and it was just really complicated. And she goes, "Well, you got to think about your legacy." And I laughed in her face. I said, "Legacy? What the hell are you talking about?" And she goes, "Well, you've done films that are just super popular right now. You just done one right after the other, and you should think about the legacy of that." And I was like, "What did I do that's popular now? Are you out of your mind?" Because when you're in LA, the only thing that's good is the thing that you did yesterday.
Yeah, 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes
ago. I'm on to the next thing.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. I mean, you have blinders. You have LA blinders on, and then when I moved out, I remember the very first time that somebody sent me a message, because then I got on Facebook. I went to my wife and I said, "Hey, look at this. This guy actually knows who I am." And he goes, and I typed that back to him, and he goes, "Yeah." He says, "Your name's on the poster of Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and that poster was over my bed, and your name was right here on this corner."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "I woke up every morning to your name." I go, oh, okay." Who knew, right? I mean,
certainly not us.
It's really funny because if you're looking at us when we were filming, back in when we were filming in the 80s and the early 90s, those shows, they say that that's the second golden age of horror, but man, nobody gave a shit about us in town.
No,
I mean, we were paid less and we had no respect. I mean, we
were like the dregs, just above, I would say probably just above the porn business,
just barely above the porn business, up there with showbiz lawyers, or down there with showbiz lawyers,
And two, it was like none of the things we worked on were like they were pumping so much stuff out that we didn't think this stuff would last 5 years, let alone it's 40 to 50.
And the first 5 years that I was in the business, there was no market for tapes or anything like that. I mean, once you showed it, that was it. Maybe it would come back, on late night TV, but it especially if it was horror, it had to mellow a few years first.
Right. Well, even circling back to the films that are kind of sleepers at its time, like Society, same thing. It never found its feet until like the 90s, and it did well in the UK, but it did terrible here. And then it sort of found its audience over time. It didn't really.
Yeah, which you have to think about. You have to think about this. Is there was no secondary market for anything when I started, right? I mean, you had that one chance. It was like I was so pissed off when The Hidden didn't do well at all, and it was such a great film, and I was like, I was incensed. Nobody's ever going to see this film, and sure enough, this stuff all goes on to be classics,
Well, me and
now
Omar
it gets a resurgence too because of shows like Eli Roth's History of Horror that like it just goes back and reflects on all these movies. There have been movies that I hadn't seen in years and some that I hadn't seen at all that I had to go back and find because I saw it on that show. I was like, oh, what is that? Hang on.
Well, you see,
Society was one of them actually that I hadn't seen for like 15 years. I was like, I know I have that. Where is it? And picked it up and put it in.
That is a weird ass movie. He was in the middle. He was in the middle of that sofa, right? With all the writhing things and the thing.
There was about 8 people inside that thing.
Yeah,
and I was right in the dead center of it, where that weird old lady's dumping champagne down the mouth.
So probably it was what, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I think, that I got to see Society with him in his hotel room, and I'm going, what the fuck is this?
I was gonna say that me and Omar love physical media, and you gotta love people like Shout and Arrow who still put out some great horror stuff. And there's other ones like Severin Films that releases a lot of these on Blu-ray.
Yeah, like this whole package.
Yeah,
it was actually this is the Arrow release, the limited release. Yep. But Severin, the guy that owns Severin, is the guy that did the behind the scenes on this and interviewed me. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and why does the package is beautiful, man? Look at that. That's just
why hasn't anybody interviewed me for one of those?
Well, I was gonna ask
if we're showing toys.
I was gonna ask. There is a Nightmare box set out, but it's not as good as the Halloween or Friday the 13th that Scream did. So if Scream Factory released a Nightmare set, like a whole good set, would you guys jump on board if they asked, or like to do interviews and stuff like that?
And they never did. I mean, literally, I didn't even get a mention in Never Sleep Again.
Never Sleep Again.
Neither one of us got mentioned in that.
Yeah,
we didn't even know about it till after it was done.
Exactly. You know, it was like I literally have had people call. That's a really that's a sore spot for me.
That's probably one of the largest that Mick and I get. Well, how come you weren't on that?
How come you weren't on that? And it's like,
I have no fucking idea.
My sister was on it and I wasn't on it. And the funny thing is I brought her on to do the set dressing, right? And so her talk on the Beans is she isn't a storyteller really. Her whole thing was I did all the designing for it. You did not. You're guy. Sometimes I'm just so glad she's dead.
Well, I have a feeling though, if Shout does a Nightmare set, I'm sure that you guys would be called for that one, because if you look at the Halloween box set and the Friday the 13th box set, they went like all out on special features for those films. And Nightmare needs a set like that. I mean, like I said, there is one out now, but it's not it's got all the films. It's just
it's nowhere near as extensive and as cool as the 10 disc Halloween one and the
problem
Friday.
They just concentrated people on the big bus. Some of us weren't on the big bus.
No, we were the bad kids in the back of the bus.
That's right.
So unrelated, but found this the other day and had to pick it up and take it home with me.
Oh,
it's the squishy Evil Dead Book of the Dead editions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, I found it for like $15. I was just like, yeah, it's coming home.
Oh, nice. So when you guys do the convention circuit, I don't know how much conventions that you guys do with your schedule. What kind of things do you guys do when you come to conventions?
I usually go ahead.
I think for both of us, like at least I know this just from talking to Mick and trying to do as many as we can. We love going out and talking to fans. We love going out and doing these shows and making the appearances, because for us, it's it's that fan base that's kept all of this stuff alive. I mean, I think it was 2016, Mick, that we did like Sin City Horror here and decided
Sin City in Las Vegas decided that we had to do this more.
It was totally that, and we really weren't aware of how many people were aware of us.
That's what was really funny. It's probably around 2016 and maybe a couple of years before that was the first time that it even occurred to me that anybody knew knew. I mean, because let's face it, it's the horror films that have survived.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are fandoms and so forth. I mean, nobody's lining up to be the first in line to see Kramer versus Kramer.
No.
Right.
That was a joke, guys. Come on. Lighten up a little bit.
It's a fact. It's a fact. It's funny, but it's a fact.
It's funny. It's a fact. So it's, I like to get out there and give people, plus you have to know that the industry has changed so completely.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these techniques that we had learned. I mean, we learned literally filmmaking had been under like 120 years of refinement by the time we were in the business. Right. And so all those tips and tricks and so forth, we collected, didn't all disappear just because the medium completely changed.
Right.
Right. So we still I still think that there's a lot out there to teach about like special effects and about, design, about, what makes a good film, what you need to bring.
Yeah, Mick, pipe down.
Yeah, really. I can't talk any lower.
That's okay. Neither can my children. It's all right.
Production designers cannot have an inside voice.
That's right. You can't.
It's not allowed.
That's right.
So how in touch with the industry now in your guys' line of work are you? Like, are there people within the last, I don't know, 5 years that you see that we should be keeping an eye on?
Oh, the industry is fragmented as the music industry. You know, it's completely blown apart. It's so hard to tell who to keep an eye on. But the thing is there's so many more people making films now, and but at the same time, you know, there's a more limited number of people doing it well. It's just like the old days, only in order to do it, you don't have to put $3 million on the line.
Right. I mean, that's a fact. There's, you know, all the digital tools now that are available. Like they weren't around back then. You couldn't edit a film in your bedroom in those days, and now you can.
Right.
So it makes everybody accessible to those tools, and they want to be a filmmaker. So now the content pool is so much larger.
But the thing is knowing how to work with those tools in order to do that was an industry, right? Mm-hmm. And that industry very carefully guarded all those secrets. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to let those secrets out as much as possible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because we all know I can't keep a secret.
I think really what that comes down to, despite what Mr. Loudmouth there has to say, I think that we both really enjoy fostering modern filmmakers because it keeps this alive. And for us, you know, we know we're not going to be around forever. We're not, you know, we're lucky if we've got another, I'll say 40 years left. I hope I'm around 40 years.
40 years, holy shit.
I don't know. I might not make 20, but you never know.
It prevents what almost happened back in the Universal era when, you know, Lon Chaney passed away with all of his secrets and no one knew how to do the makeup. Right. If it wasn't for someone like Jack Pierce coming through, that would have been it. There wouldn't be monster movies.
Exactly.
Well, think of stop motion. You know, stop motion almost dropped off the face of the earth, and thanks to people
like Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton and Wes Anderson and stuff like that. You know, it's
Henry Selick.
Yeah, you know, the thing is all of those things look to the past to create their future, and I guess we're the past that's yelling, going, no, it's that way. It's over there.
Wait, you should be pointing the other way.
Over.
Yeah, that way.
There we go.
That's where the light's coming from. Yeah, so he's pointing toward the dark.
Yeah, that's right. Head for the light.
We're trying to run away from the light right now.
That's what my wife keeps telling me. Mick, go to the light. Go to the light.
So is there a horror film that you guys seen recently that you thought, wow, that was pretty good?
There's a series that Mick turned me on to, and it was just only he wanted me to see like the first couple episodes just to reference some effects we were working on together for another project we were doing. And I watched the first episode, and that was it. I binged the whole fucking season because I thought it was so great. It's called From.
Yeah. It's pretty fucking interesting, I have to say.
Yeah, it's very original. I love it.
Yeah.
That's not on Epix, right?
Yes, it's on
Epix. Epix, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I recently saw The Black Phone, and I thought that was quite good.
I want to see that.
Release.
Yeah, I want to see that. I really do.
Yeah, I thought it was excellently done.
Yeah. Ethan Hawke is like back, man. Between what he did in Moon Knight and The Black Phone, that dude is like he shows a different side of what we've seen him do.
Oh yeah, very, very creepy villain. Very well done.
Yeah, me and Nicole, we just started watching, because we love everything pop culture, so we started watching Paper Girls on Amazon, which is that
good?
Yeah, it is good. It's a comic from Image, and the series is well done. It's a like a time travel thing, sci-fi.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Have you seen Everywhere?
Yes, that is the best movie of this year.
That's
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't.
So
you know what? I don't know if it's the best. I don't know if it's the best because it had a shtick that it kind of stuck to. But boy, what an interesting film, right?
There's 3 movies that I've seen this year in theaters that I thought so far haven't been beat, and that's Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Black Phone, and then the Nick Cage movie or The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Fucking hilarious.
Oh my god.
Oh, fucking hilarious, right?
Was nonstop laughing from beginning to end. I was pissing myself.
Could we just get like more Pedro Pascal and Nicolas Cage together?
Oh my god.
Yes. The acid scene.
Oh god, yes.
I could not stop laughing. I was crying in tears. Like, it was ridiculous.
That film was bonkers. I mean, I love that. The thing is that there's nobody that would go out to play themselves more than Nick Cage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's because you have to think to yourself, what would be the pinnacle of Nick Cage's life and film? Would be Nick Cage as Nick Cage in Nick Cage.
And his alter ego that talks to him,
right? Absolutely,
it's so good.
Insane.
Yeah,
it's so good.
You know who's actually doing kind of the same thing is Claude Van Damme.
Oh yeah,
Jean-Claude Van.
Yeah.
If you've seen his TV show is pretty hilarious.
That's good. I'm glad when you can see them like poke fun at themselves. You know, like I need a Steven Seagal movie like this
because. I keep thinking to myself, the thing is the Steven Seagal movie would never exist because Steven Seagal has never in his life made fun of anything.
Right. He thinks everything is serious.
Everything is serious.
And there's a lot of people that don't like him in general. So
yeah, well,
I've heard a lot of stories about him.
I used to train at a gym that was affiliated with Gene LaBelle, who was a stunt guy for the Green Hornet, and he was on a lot of movie sets. And Gene tells this hilarious story of how he put Steven Seagal to sleep, essentially, on set. And everybody that went to that gym heard that story at least once from Gene just walking through and just telling it. Like, that's his favorite story in the world to tell.
Well, he can't be the best liked human being in the world.
Right.
Well, what was it in like 2018 or 2019 in that Comic-Con in like Puerto Rico, or maybe it was Brazil, I can't remember, where Jason David Frank, the original Green Power Ranger, and Jean-Claude Van Damme got into an altercation.
Yeah, really? They started yelling at each other, right? Like, was that in Puerto Rico?
It was at a Comic-Con. It was either in Puerto Rico or Brazil. I can't remember. But Jean-Claude Van Damme was like yelling. Like, there's stories about him. Like, you know, when he was doing his films, he was coked out. Like that's well known. So, but
really, cocaine, you say?
In the 80s?
No, really?
That couldn't possibly.
Holy shit!
Was he a line cook also? Because I mean,
my world just fell apart.
Line cook.
Apparently, he was yelling at was saying that Jason David Frank is not like legit. And if you know anything about Jason David Frank, he's like a legit martial artist. And they had to be pulled apart by multiple people.
My understanding was that it was over like a trailer mishap or a dressing room mishap. Like
that sounds a lot. That sounds kind of like the punchline of a joke about men and boys in L.A.
So I had a friend on Facebook post a question, and what is the greatest action film of all time?
All time?
Yeah, and my choice, it's either Die Hard or Lethal Weapon. Like the overall best action film.
Oh, I like Lethal Weapon better than Die Hard.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not in, but you know,
did Shane Black do both of those, or just one?
No, he only did Lethal Weapon.
Okay, I'm gonna side with Lethal Weapon.
I like Lethal Weapon because it's got a better sense of humor about itself.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think I would always
action
lean
works
towards
better with comedy too.
It's got
Yeah.
Danny
Oh.
Glover in it. It's got to be.
You know.
Absolutely.
You know.
You know what? I'm gonna go for Face Off as the best action movie I've ever seen to this day.
That's pretty good.
Nicolas Cage acting as John Travolta, acting as Nicolas Cage when he's staring at himself in the mirror, deserved an Oscar all by itself right there. And there's no one that can talk me down from that ledge.
Up to like John Travolta, John Travolta acting as Nicolas Cage, like
just hysterical how they're blatantly making fun of each other to their faces.
Yeah. This is why if Face Off was ever to be remade, just because of their on and off like beef is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. That would be like the only two that I could see do a Face Off, just because like if
they could like
if you look at their Twitter, like
go back and forth.
Yeah,
you got to do John Cena and The Rock. What are you talking about? Like,
I'll throw another film in the mix though that it really, I don't know if it really qualifies as action, but Total Recall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's, I mean, next to Conan, I think that's my favorite Schwarzenegger movie, honestly. Like, Total Recall is so over the top ridiculous that how do you not love every scene?
I still don't understand that movie.
Yeah. And the thing is, that
rewatch, what's up?
That's
exactly. Twice. I don't get it.
That's the best thing about it.
So like the original Total Recall was a decent film, where the Colin Farrell version though was more faithful to the book.
Yeah, and you know I liked it for what it was. It was very Minority Report-esque. You know, they tried to take it into a more serious direction, but Paul Verhoeven is just so much fun. Yeah. Like Total Recall, Starship Troopers, RoboCop, like it's so much fun to see one of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite Schwarzenegger.
Wow, you know what? I just realized that I can see here.
So, but I'm not an action girl. I don't like action movies.
Is there a chance that we could start to wind this up?
Yeah,
I've got things to do. I'm tiling my bathroom. Nothing that I'm doing here is helping me tile my bathroom.
True story.
All right. Well, it was nice having you guys on. Is there anything you want to promote that you guys have coming up?
I'm going to be at Flashback Weekend next weekend.
Cool.
Well, there you go. He's going to be. I'm going to be at Phantasm here in 3 weeks.
Nice. Very excited.
I mean, are you guys going to make it there?
Yeah,
I think we might. I think, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. Might show up if I have nothing to do.
The word on the street is.
Yeah, well,
the word on the street is.
And Nick and I are pretty good together. I mean, you know, he's sort of like that pebble of sand that creates an oyster in my side.
What a specific reference.
There you go.
It doesn't mean I'm taking you out for oysters.
Well, yeah. Oh, you know, all of a sudden I'm hungry.
Yeah. Hey, you know, I'm hungry too, so I think we'll all go get something.
Like, why would it be in your side? Is that another weird horror movie that could be coming out? Like,
it's a Total Recall reference.
Okay.
Don't get it.
Don't get it.
It's Society Part 2. Yeah.
Part 2.
Well, I want to appreciate the fact that you guys joined us. Mick, you are hilarious. You've been on a couple times. You actually, I remember you came on and talked about the Mortal Kombat film from the 90s. So I think it was last year we had you on.
Did everybody survive?
Yeah, you were talking about the optical lens. You called it the asshole.
Oh yes, yes, yes. The optical asshole. Yeah.
Yes.
Like how do we get out of this forest shot and into? And
I'm telling you, there is not a sentence that comes out of Mick's mouth when you have the word optical that doesn't involve asshole.
It's hey,
2-degree separation.
It was a given in those days.
It's a reflex.
So, Nick, you said next weekend you're going to be at a convention?
Yes, Flashback Weekend Chicago. And after that, I will be at Phantasm.
All right. So if you're in the Chicago area next weekend, go check out Nick and all the other artists and actors and stuff that are going to be there. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks here in Orlando.
Thanks, guys.
See you then.
Right.
Okay, thanks, guys.